Today we're making creme brulee, and you can design it any way you want. You could even replace the cream with coconut milk. Join us for this one. It's delicious and easy. And we're making two different creme brulees today. We're making white chocolate, the one that we made at the restaurant, and we're making chocolate. Need a quart of heavy 40% cream, 4 ounces of granulated sugar, and 6 ounces of good white chocolate, tablespoon of vanilla bean paste. I got 10 egg yolks here that have been separated. The egg whites you can freeze and save for meringue, so don't throw them away. Bit of salt and sweet items just so they're not flat. Now, you know, back when creme brulee was hot, they used to sell creme brulee flights, you know, a Grand Marnier, a vanilla, a chocolate, or they'd mix it up, hazelnut, so forth. And they used to do flights. And I didn't really like the flights of creme brulee. I mean, I like the option of having 3 different flavors for dessert, but it was just way too much burnt sugar on top to take. You know, there wasn't enough custard. So, and it's a lot more work, a lot more dishes, and in a restaurant situation, we just decided to make a really good one and then switch it around. If you want, you can replace the milk with coconut milk with this recipe and use everything exactly the same. So we got 10 egg yolks, we got 4 ounces of sugar, 6 ounces of white chocolate, a pinch of salt, tablespoon of vanilla, and I've got a quart of heavy cream that I just brought. You see how it's just barely bubbling and kind of foamy. All right, that's what we want. We'll give the sugar and the egg yolks a mix with the chocolate and the salt and the vanilla. And we just mix in the middle. Keep your pot completely over. And slowly add this in so you don't cook the egg yolks and make scrambled eggs. You just add it slowly, give that white chocolate a chance to start melting. You know, work the sides, get all that granulated sugar suspended so that can just start melting. You know, and as you're going and moving forward and you got like a cup of cream left here, then you can go ahead and just finish it off. Now, you don't want to whisk this like crazy. All right, don't do that, because then your creme brulee will have little bubbles inside of it. It'll look like Swiss cheese, okay? Creme brulee is supposed to be a dense custard. You know, creme brulee translated is burnt cream, okay? So that's why we use cream. You're not using half and half. You're not using milk. You're not using plain old whipping cream. You're using heavy whipping cream, 40% if you can, ultra pasteurized. And, you know, I know what you're saying. Sugar, egg yolks, cream. Yeah, it's decadent. See, all that milk chocolate melted from the heat of the cream. Okay. Now, I'm doing the chocolate.
Boiling behind you.
Even the great ones. Never fails, does it? All right, so yeah, that happens. You know, I'm human just like the rest of you, so that's, I guess, what makes it real, right? All right, so egg yolks, tablespoon of the vanilla. I think I already sprinkled a little bit of salt in this one. And we give that a mix. Break up those yolks. And the same deal. We add a little bit of cream at a time, mix it in. Kind of like if you're making a hollandaise, just a little at a time. You don't want to scramble those egg yolks. You want to break up that sugar. Okay, now I've got a nice, and you always strain your creme brulee mix because you got lumps of sugar in there. You might have an embryo or two or a little bit of cooked egg. Okay, now, while this is still warm, I got a half a cup of Italian double dark chocolate, cocoa powder. So this is, they call this brute cocoa. And if anybody's ever worked with cocoa making their own hot chocolate or cakes or whatever, you know that cocoa powder does really well in a warm environment. It'll melt. So again, we don't want to beat this and add air to it. You know, we want to try and gently mix this.
Do you ever sift your cocoa powder?
Yes, but I'm already straining. So, you know, this is just skipping a step, but I'm still getting the end result that I need. A nice smooth, you know, and if you're making the two flavors, you obviously do your vanilla one first. Now, if you wanted to make the vanilla one Grand Marnier instead of white chocolate, you would add, come on, I know you can do the math. You'd add 6 ounces instead of white chocolate, 6 ounces of Grand Marnier. Now, check this out. You've got all this creme brulee, and oh my God, Greg, it's just me and my husband, or me and my mother, or whatever. You make 2 of each. Okay? And you pour the rest in a quart. And this is a 6-ounce ladle, if anybody was wondering. Okay? Now, anything that requires a water bath when baking, you want to make yourself a little room to pour the water. And you put this into, this is a 300-degree oven, by the way, for the creme brulees. You set the pan with the creme brulees in there before the water. Then you pour the water in. So you're not spilling water into the creme brulee while you're trying to get it to the oven and you bump into something. Half that water will evaporate during the cooking process. 300 degrees, hour and 15 to hour and a half, depending on your oven. Your 300 degree oven might be 310 and someone else's might be 290. Basically what you want to do is you want to shake the sheet pan and see if it's jiggling. If it's still jiggling, then it's not quite done. Now, I use this same recipe. Grab me one of those pot de creme pots, honey. I think this is an 8-ounce, okay? And you do everything the same way. You'd fill this up. You'd put the cover on it. And that would go on your sheet pan with the other pot de cremes. And those go in the oven with a water bath for about the same amount of time. And what's gonna happen is, because it's covered and it's only an hour and 15 minutes or so, it's not, and it's way more creme brulee base. You know, this has got 8 ounces. The other shallower ones, and it's spread out, have 6. But because this is deeper and it has more of the creme brulee mix, the inside is not going to set. It's gonna cook and get like a thick chocolate sauce. That's what pot de creme is. It's basically, in layman's terms, half-cooked creme brulee. One of my favorite desserts. So, you know, you can make creme brulees with the burnt sugar, or you can just make a baked custard and cook it halfway, and when they're chilled and you dig your spoon into it, it has a soft center. We'll make one of those when we're writing the other cookbook. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that while I had this here. And this base now can be in the refrigerator for 7 days at the most. You can't really freeze it, okay? But you have yourself there at least another 5.5 creme brulees.
How long do they last once they're cooked?
Once they're cooked, they'll last 10 days. Nice cold refrigerator. Now, I made some this morning so I could show you how to burn the sugar. So yeah, tightly covered. Let that cool for, you know, about a half hour before it goes in the refrigerator. You don't want to cover it while it's still warm. I made these for the restaurant, and we're going to be selling these off, and you get the dish too, and it'll be like 7 1/4. Now, when you do the sugar, you know, a lot of people say, you just pour the sugar on, you spread it like this, then pour the excess off, and there you go. That doesn't work that way. Nice try. You have to put enough sugar on there to give you a decent layer, but not too much. So, you know, you can't see the chocolate through there, but you know that it's not piled up really high. At the restaurant, we had a spoon that really worked well. I don't know what happened to that spoon. I must have sold it when I sold the restaurant. What was I thinking? I thought I was done. Okay, you need a butane torch for this. The small ones work too. You know, you start at one point and you don't move. This is how I do it. I'm not saying it's the right or the wrong way, but I like to go in a semicircle or clockwise and just go until that sugar gets a nice dark brown, because again, creme brulee is burnt cream in French. So you want that sugar to have a little bit of bitterness. I do it on top of a piece of foil so I don't burn anything, like a tablecloth. When the pastry chef did these over at the restaurant, or the guys, they would have to sit for a minute because this caramel is still a little bit soft. You know, if you're making these the same day, you want to make these in the morning. These have been chilling for 4 hours and now they're cold, and now we're going to wrap them individually with saran wrap, and you know, you wipe them off where the little drips are, because if you don't do that before you do the caramel, then you're burning it right onto the plate. I did this on purpose so I could show you that. So if your plates are dirty, just take a towel to them and clean them up a little bit. Otherwise, when you're doing the caramel, those little pieces will burn. Put it on a napkin on another plate. That keeps it from sliding around. If you want to put a little Rosetta whipped cream or a few raspberries, you can. This is how we served it. You know, and this has been sitting now for, what, 2 minutes?
Not even, like a minute, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get here. Can you hear that? That's what you want. You want this to break. And see how thin that is? That's palatable. You know, it gives you a little bit. Look on the inside of this creme brulee. Dense. No bubbles. No Swiss cheese. No Gruyere. White chocolate creme brulee. Delicious. Most popular dessert. You want chocolate? This is chocolate pudding, folks. You don't want to go through making chocolate pudding, which is a little bit more of a process. Make chocolate creme brulee. That will scratch that itch. I keep giving you people pearls every week. I'm not charging you for it. I'm not monetizing, but I love doing it because it's simple, it's inexpensive. We're looking at an egg, half an ounce of sugar, and maybe 3 or 4 ounces of cream. I mean, this dessert costs maybe $1.25 to make. You don't have to have the caramelized sugar. You can eat it plain. You can pour maple syrup on top, or you could put fruit on top. You can do whatever you want. I'm just showing you how I did it at the restaurant, and people loved it. So, thank you. We'll see you next week. I think we're going to probably do tiramisu next week because we want to get the cookbook, the first one, wrapped up. The chocolate, both of them came out perfect.
I'm going to have a bite.
I haven't made creme brulees since we closed 3 years ago. Zach, you need to get in there.
That's better.
You better hold the camera for him. Yeah, it's supposed to be burnt. It's not supposed to be amber. Creme brulee in English is burnt cream. So it needs to be a little bit darker than amber. I mean, if you don't like it bitter and you want it lighter, they can make it that way, but we did it this way because it's supposed to have a little bitter taste.